we're pleased to be able to share this with you today and look forward to having a great discussion in this 90-minute webinar. A few housekeeping notes. Please do stay muted unless you are speaking to everyone. As you can see, we have a good number of participants on the line, and so it'll be good to keep background noise to a minimum. Also, you can feel free at any time to enter questions in the Q&A and comments in the chat. We look forward to having a good dialogue, both verbally as well as in writing through the chat box and the Q&A. In the Q&A portion of the webinar, we'll address as many of the questions as time allows. And as I mentioned, please do note that this webinar is a 90-minute webinar. So first, we're pleased to be sharing some slides on Reliance and the WHO collaborative registration procedure. These slides will be shared by Marie Valentin, who is the team lead for facilitated product introduction at the WHO. Marie is a pharmacist who is specialized in drug product regulation, and she has over 22 years experience in regulatory affairs, as well as product development, both in the private and public sectors. Marie joined WHO in 2019, and since September of 2023, she's been the team lead for facilitated product introduction. This team at the WHO is responsible for Reliance mechanisms to facilitate the registration of quality-assured medical products. So after Marie's presentation, we will have additional slides shared with you on the use of CRP for WHO-prequalified products, and then on the use of CRP for products approved by Stringent Regulatory Authorities. These slides will be shared by Sunday Kisoma, who is technical officer for the facilitated product introduction team, also at WHO. Sunday is a pharmacist who holds a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree, a Master of Public Health, as well as a Master of Science in Pharmacy Policy and Regulation. Sunday worked for 12 years in the National Regulatory Authority of Tanzania, and also has worked as a consultant assessor for the WHO PQ of Medicines for 8 years. He joined WHO 2 years ago as a consultant in the facilitated product introduction team. And in the last 4 months, he has served as a technical officer for the team, where in his role, he coordinates CRP for WHO pre-qualified medicines, as well as vaccines, and provides technical support to regional joint assessments under the AMRH initiative in Africa. So after these presentations, we'll have the Q&A, and then we'll close the webinar. So now it's my great pleasure to hand off to Marie Valentin.
Thank you very much, Safia. A very good day to you all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, so the Reproductive Health Supplies Coalition, and Safia and her team for inviting us to present today on the effort from WHO on the good Reliance practices, and also this Reliance in action, that is the collaborative registration procedure. So I've been presented already, so we can already move to the next slide, please. So first, I wanted to start by saying that Reliance is not a new concept. we know that there is a long history of using the output of other authorities in facilitating the work of regulators for a long time. If we look, for example, at the certificate of pharmaceutical products that started in the late 1950s, so a long time ago, this was already the spirit of why do I need to duplicate if I can rely, if I can use the evaluation or inspection from other regulatory authorities that I can trust. What we want to promote here is informed reliance. Maybe historically, sometimes some regulators would look up at output from reference authorities and saying, oh, maybe it's been authorized by EMA, it's been authorized by SFDA, I'm going to authorize it as well. But what we really promote here is the informed reliance. What we want is that regulators have the minimum quality, safety, and efficacy data in their hands. And they've got also the evaluation or inspection reports from others to facilitate their decision process at national level. So really, we are promoting an informed reliance and sharing of information. It's quite timely because, as you know, we are moving now away from the concept of stringent regulatory authorities. We are in a transition phase that will last for 3 years until April 2027. And we are moving now towards the framework of WHO-listed authorities. And we know that at the end of last year, the 3 first ones were announced. And recently, 2 days ago, we had the announcement of additional WHO-listed authorities with the European Union regulatory system, the USFDA, and RHSC Singapore for some of the function that was not confirmed yet. So it is very important to look at which regulatory authorities could we use as reference. And this also will be used in CRP. So for the moment, we're still in a transition phase, but the aim is in the future to move from SRAs CRP to WLA CRP. I just wanted to say as well that COVID-19 was a strong accelerator for the use of Reliance. And some colleagues commented that we made the impossible possible, and everybody worked very hard during the response to the pandemic. But we looked at also new models of collaboration and more flexibility, and Reliance was a key in terms of success for improving access of COVID-19 globally. Next slide, please. So we know as well that the landscape of regulatory authorities across the globe is very diverse with different level of maturity. So to look at maturity level of regulatory system, we use the WHO Global Benchmarking Tool, which is a tool with around 250 indicators to try to assess the regulatory system of the different member states and help them to see where they're at in their maturity level and to write or prepare a roadmap. It's called the Institutional Development Plan to see how they can improve their regulatory system. There are 4 maturity levels, and what we're aiming for is maturity level 3, which is a stable and functional regulatory system. However, we see that 70% of the regulatory system nowadays are still maturity level 1 or 2. So 70% of the member states still have not ideal regulatory system that needs to be strengthened. So we really have to work together collectively to facilitate maturity of this regulatory system, but also to facilitate collaboration in the meantime while we are building capacity. So the WHO Regulatory System Strengthening Program has got 2 work streams. One is to build capacity, which is each of these member states, and work closely with the member states to assess and to see how we can improve their regulatory system. But number 2 is also to promote regulatory cooperation, convergence, work sharing, and reliance. So to try to use more efficiently the resources that we have available and to try to make best use of these resources. Next slide, please. So we know also that regulators, and no regulator nowadays can do the regulatory oversight work alone. They are facing many challenges in terms of evolving science and regulatory challenges, the globalization of the supply chain with some products manufactured at various parts of the globe, with the drug substance in one country, the drug product in another country, the release might be under testing in other parts of the globe. So it's very important to make sure that regulators, as much as possible, can collaborate to have the best oversight of product use locally. For the implementation, we encourage NRAs to look at a risk-based approach and to try to avoid duplication where it's possible. If I've got a good and reliable source of information, do I need to repeat an inspection? Do I need to repeat an evaluation? And maybe what is already available can be used in terms of facilitating the scientific evaluation at national level. We've mentioned already the transition to the WHO listed authorities, and it's a great momentum as we see more and more authorities being listed as WHO listed authorities. And we know that this pool of WHO listed authority is going to increase in the future. So it will be a great momentum to use Reliance and use diverse source of evaluation and inspection. Next slide, please. So what are the solutions? So one could ask, currently, are we using the resources as best as we can? And I think collectively, we could say that there is margin for improvements. There is definitely margin in terms of increasing the collaboration and avoiding the duplication where possible to free some space and some resources for tasks that are only done by one regulators, for example. So at national level, if I've got one product that has been pre-qualified already, one product that's been authorized by a stringent regulatory authorities, do I need to spend as much time as for a product that has never been seen by any regulators? And the answer obviously would be that it's better to try to rely as much as possible and then free some space and some resources to assess and oversight the products that have never been seen by any regulators. For the implementation, we're looking at a voluntary participation. So it's always on a voluntary participation. We know we have to change the mindset because it changes the way that we have been working. So it's very important to look at new model and more innovative and collaborative model in terms of working. We have to start small and learning by doing, and it's great to see that we have currently many pilots, for example, in the field of post-authorization changes management, in terms of using Reliance more for the post-authorization changing management, because we know it's a massive workload for both the industry and the regulators. So it's very good to see this momentum in terms of trying new model for example, management of post-authorization changes. We know that we're all working towards harmonization. We are not there yet, but however, harmonization is a facilitator, but it's not a prerequisite. Reliance can always be used even if we do not have full harmonization between all the different countries. Next slide, please. So in our team, the team of Facilitate Product Introduction, what we do is we propose and we support all this Reliance mechanism that facilitate access of quality assured medical products. And one of them is the WHO collaborative registration procedure, and we will discuss this at length during this session. We also support some global health product procedures, such as the EU M4All, so it stands for Medicine for All, or the Swissmedic for Marketing Authorization for Global Health Product, which are two procedures where we use the Stringent Regulatory Authorities evaluation, either from the European Medicine Agency or from Swissmedic, but they also invite WHO experts to be part of the evaluation, and they invite target national regulatory authorities where they know they would aim to market this product to be part of the evaluation, so they can participate in the scientific discussion and evaluation from the EMA and Swissmedic to facilitate their own decision. We also support all the effort in terms of regional joint assessments, like in ASEAN, and also in the regional economic committees in Africa. And this, again, is another form of reliance where countries may decide to review an assessment together collaboratively and to share the workload, either, for example, a different module, quality, safety, and efficacy, or to have a primary review from one countries and a peer review process from other countries. So we've got different shapes and forms of reliance that are proposed in terms of facilitating registration and facilitating access. Next slide, please. So briefly today, we will be discussing the WHO collaborative registration procedure. And so this is definitely Reliance in action. It's promoting informed reliance with the source of information either from pre-qualification for WHO pre-qualification or from the Stringent Regulatory Authorities / WLA. As we mentioned, we are in the transition, but the aim is also to use the WLA in the CRP in the future. And for the countries to receive the dossier application, the full dossier, and the assessment and inspection report from this reference authority or institution to facilitate their scientific evaluation at national level. We are proposing the same principle for life cycle. So if we use Reliance for the initial authorization, it's encouraged to use Reliance for post-authorization change management as long as the product stays the same. And in Reliance, it's very important to look at this sameness of products. And within the CRP, we're looking at the quality information summary, which is identity card of the products to ensure that the same product with the same supportive data have been submitted to the reference authority or to the WHO and to the relying authority. Next slide, please. And the last slide is just to give you a bit of pinpoints of where to find more information on Reliance. The main document is obviously the WHO Good Reliance Practices that was published in March 2021, and I've put the link here. We've also released a short e-learning course. It's only 25 minutes. It's available in free access, so I encourage anyone to look at this course and to share it freely. It's available in French and in Spanish as well, and it highlights the main principle of Reliance. We are working very closely also with regulators, and in the context of the International Pharmaceutical Regulators Program, we've issued a question and answer on the main question on Reliance, and it is updated quite frequently in terms of trying to explain what are the principles and what are the different application of Reliance for the different regulatory function. Next slide, please. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And now we will move ahead with my colleague Sandek Izoma to dive into the CRP procedure. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much, Marie. Thanks, Safia, for presenting me earlier. So I'm going to dive into the overview of collaborative registration procedure, both for WHO pre-qualified medicines and SRA approved medicines and vaccines. Next. So my presentation, I'll talk about overview and scope of CRP, and I'm going to provide a list of participating national regulatory authorities and stringent regulatory authorities. What is our experience of implementation of CRP for the various product streams, then challenges and opportunities. Then we'll touch briefly on takeaway messages from this presentation. Next. So what is CRP and how does it work? So it works by facilitating exchange of information, and we do this exchange in order to facilitate national registration, facilitate and accelerate national registration. And we do this by providing information of this authoritative information on product assessment and inspection, as it was generated by trusted regulatory systems, trusted national regulatory authorities, or WHO pre-qualification. And the principle is simple, is that the applicant or manufacturer may have a single product dossier, and this product dossier is submitted to multiple CRP participating countries. And we in turn provide product assessment and inspection reports that we obtain through WHO pre-qualification or stringent regulatory authority. The idea is to accelerate. So the idea is to have an accelerated assessment and registration of products in the country, and to bring about faster access to priority products. Next. We have two main product streams, CRP product streams. One is CRP for WHO pre-qualified medical products, And here we are talking about medicines, vaccines, biotherapeutics. We have another pathway for in vitro diagnostics, and we're in the process of activating another CRP for vector control products. So for pre-qualified products that are relevant to this webinar, falls under the first three categories. So they could be medicines, they could be vaccines, or even biotherapeutics. Then the second CRP product stream is SRA CRP. And these are for any product that has been assessed and approved by any stringent regulatory authority. Like Marie mentioned earlier, we are now transitioning to WLA and we'll be updating accordingly. But as of now, so this applies to any innovative and generic products that have been approved by stringent regulatory authorities. Also, we have pharmaceutical products that are pre-qualified, but through abridged pathways because they are also approved by stringent regulatory authorities. And other products that are approved via special routes, such as EU medicines for all for the use outside the European Union, and this Swiss marketing authorization for global health products that Marie talks about. The main differences between the two pathway product streams is that the PQ-CRP is confined within the eligibility of therapeutic areas covered by WHO pre-qualification. So it would expand as the PQ scope expands. However, for SRA CRP, it's applied for any products from any therapeutic area, as long as it has a valid marketing authorization in the designated stringent regulatory authorities. Next slide. In terms of detailed mechanism, so we are the WHO FPI. We link up with the manufacturers and national regulatory authorities and stringent regulatory authorities. So we take information from WHO pre-qualification team, which sits in another unit from where we are sitting, or stringent regulatory authority. What is required is for the manufacturer or the applicant to have a full product dossier, and then the dossier should be updated to include any post-approval or post-pre-qualification changes that have taken place between pre-qualification to the date that is applied in the country. Then plus all country-specific requirements, because mostly in Module 1, different countries have different requirements when it comes to labeling, language, and all these other specific features that are specific to the country. As what we do is we provide access to detailed confidential assessment reports. So if it's quality overall summary product dossier as generated by the PQ assessors, plus additional from initial assessment and additional data, as well as variations. And for SRA CRP, we also provide detailed summary reports for product assessment. We also provide confidential GMP inspection reports for both active pharmaceutical ingredient manufacturing sites and finished pharmaceutical products manufacturers. We also provide access to good clinical practice inspection, such as inspection of clinical research organizations. And the idea is the National Regulatory Authority commits to conduct the review through 90 working days by using Reliance. And this, so they could do recognition, whereby they don't do any other assessment, or they could do Reliance, where they do a bridged assessment and make it reviews only those specific parts of the dossier that are applicable to a certain jurisdiction. Thereafter, so the NRA is commits to give a decision within 90 days, and stop clocks apply. So in case they ask questions to manufacturers, then they stop the clock, Then when they receive responses, then the clock stops. So all that factors into 90 days regulatory time. And then upon, if there's an approval, then we also facilitate Reliance in post-approval phase of the product. So this is life cycle management, where we encourage also recognition or reliance for post-approval changes. And these, according to CRP guidelines, needs to be approved within 30 working days regulatory time. Next. Just to highlight on post-approval changes, to summarize. So what is required is that for a product that has been registered through CRP, and the applicants needs to make a change that will require prior NRA approval, this change needs to be submitted to the reference NRA. So in this case, the change needs to be submitted to WHO prequalification or Stringent Regulatory Authority first. Then WHO-PQ or SRA makes the assessment, and if the change is acceptable, we will notify that the National Regulatory Authority that there is a certain change that has been approved. And so the requirement is that the manufacturer will need to make a submission of post-approval change to participating National Regulatory Authority within 30 days, and will provide information on access to variations assessment reports and any other updated product details, such as quality information summary, to the National Regulatory Authority. Then the National Regulatory Authority is required to make its assessment of the variation by using Reliance and reach to a decision within 30 working days. In case the change that was submitted to the NRA is so significant that it makes the product different, then the product is delisted and removed from the list of products that are approved under CRP. In case the changes are consistent, then the product is retained in the list of products registered under CRP. The key word is that national submissions should be in line with national variations requirements, especially in the absence of harmonized requirements, and decision takes within 30 days. Like as mentioned by Marie, our team is now currently supporting the ongoing post-approval change pilots, Reliance pilots that have been initiated by manufacturers. So we are supporting 5 pilots to date, and we are working to better define the post-approval change management in the context of CRP. Next. In summary, so the steps are very simple. As that first, the NRA must agree to participate in CRP. Then there will be signed agreement. Then we'll post it on our website. Those are the NRAs that you see on our website. Then the applicant has to, stage 2 is when the applicant has to express interest to register. So participation in CRP is not blanket. For each particular product, the applicant has to express interest to use CRP, to register under CRP. Then upon agreement of the National Regulatory Authority, then we provide access to the reports, either PQ assessment and inspection reports or SRA reports. Then it's expected that the product dossier will undergo a breed assessment, and decision will be reached within 90 days. Then we go into phase 5, which is post-approval registration maintenance, where we also encourage Reliance. And the idea is to make sure that at all times, the product that is registered in the country is the same product that is currently held by the WHO prequalification or Stringent Regulatory Authorities. Next. So I'll start with PQ CRP. So for CRP for pre-qualified products, medicines and vaccines, currently we have 65 national regulatory authorities participating, representing all major regions of WHO, and one regional economic community, that is the Caribbean community, that is composed of 15 countries. So the list is long and it keeps on growing, yet again demonstrating the popularity of the procedure. So the idea is this list is published on our website. So any manufacturer who wish to apply for registration of product, of a pre-qualified product in any of these countries, please let us know, then we shall be happy to facilitate registration accordingly. Next. In terms of numbers, so what are we talking about? So for PQ CRP, we are almost approaching 1,000 national registrations for the various product streams. So on the left-hand side, RH is very specific to this webinar. So what it means is that since when PQ CRP started, we have had almost 150 applications for in-country registrations, and these are applications for the various pre-qualified reproductive health products. And out of those 150, almost 100 have been, actually 98 have been approved in the countries. Looking, if you compare with other product streams, so HA is HIV, TB is tuberculosis, MA is malaria. So if you compare the registration rate, you can see that we actually have a better registration rate when it comes to reproductive health products. Then diving in on the right-hand side, reproductive health products, you can see that we also have very small number of pending products. The pending applications, these are the ones that manufacturers have applied, and we've provided access to national regulatory authorities, and now they are under assessment, under various stages of assessment. And the ones that are on hold, we are actually waiting for confirmation. So quickly they are going to graduate into pending products. But you can see the long list, a bigger number of registered, 98 registrations. And we have also had few cases of cancellations in case the National Regulatory Authority decided to use national procedure, and 11 out of scope situations where the National Regulatory Authority declines to use the procedure because of policy reasons. Next. In terms of number of registrations, so on the left-hand side, we can see, and this is for reproductive health products only, we can see a steadily constant or increasing trend of registrations. And this is thanks to, of course, collaboration of all stakeholders, be it national regulatory authorities, manufacturers, and WHO colleagues. And then the trend is also consistent with number of submissions and what WHO PQ brings out in a certain year. So for us, this is an increasing trend, then, which means that we should keep on the collaboration among stakeholders. But on the right-hand side is how are we doing in terms of achieving the registration timelines. First, the timelines, it's worth to note that the timelines are gross timelines. That means it includes both an NRI and manufacturer's time. Therefore, we see a very high conformance to CRP requirements in terms of more than 65% of applications achieving registration within below 90 days. But also, if you combine the 90 days and 180 days, which is 6 months, we can see that we are achieving more than 80% registration within 6 months. And actually 94% registrations within 12 months. This is, for us, this is very much lower timelines compared to average registration times, which are 250 days in most countries, but in some countries, products will take up to 5 years to be registered. Next. In terms of performance of different countries, so far, the countries where we have seen applications for reproductive health is only 39% of participating NRAs. It means that we have more than 60% of the CRP participating countries that do not have applications for reproductive health. So the window is open for manufacturers to also register the products in those countries. And these are the same trends, and in terms of which countries are doing better than others, we see the same trends across the different product categories. But good thing also is that the country also represents at least main regions of WHO. And this information also helps us to focus on our interventions in terms of more advocacy to stakeholders in different countries. Next. We also analyzed, against the expression of interest that is currently valid for WHO, that is 30 reproductive health formulations. So we have 30 formulations of reproductive health that are eligible for WHO pre-qualification. But what we are seeing is that we are only seeing 30% of those being applied and registered under CRP, with, of course, misoprostol tablets and levonorgestrel 1.5 milligrams being the leading, and the ethinylestradiol, the fixed dose combination of ethinylestradiol and levonorgestrel being the least registered. Therefore, the message is that CRP can effectively bridge the gap. It means that there are 70% of pre-qualified products that manufacturers are yet to use this great CRP opportunity for when it comes to quicker registration in the countries. Next. On the side of SRA CRP, so SRA CRP started a bit later in 2015, but again, it has gained a significant momentum in terms of having 59 participating national regulatory authorities so far, representing all major WHO regions, plus one regional economic community, the CARICOM, which is represented by 15 countries. So it's one of those CRP pathway that is gaining, that is moving very fast. So the message is the manufacturers are encouraged to use this excellent pathway when applying for registration in any of these countries. Next. So for SRI CRP, as Marie said, these are currently recognized stringent regulatory authorities. So it's 36 national regulatory authorities of 36 countries, plus European Medicines Agency coming as a regional regulatory agency. And these are mainly the founding member of ICH. So currently this list is valid until when it's replaced by WHO listed authorities. So what it means is that any pharmaceutical products, vaccine, biotherapeutic, be it innovative and generic, which is approved by any of these regulatory authorities listed here. If you want to make a registration in the country, please contact us, then we shall facilitate the application of SRA CRP for registration in the specific CRP participating country. Next. And in terms of numbers, these actually reproductive health products are doing fairly better in compared to PQ CRP. As you can see, they rank the third among the most commonly applied products, where we have had 44 different applications for different products, SRA approved reproductive health products with 31 registrations, which represents more than 70%, which is also quite significant compared to other product streams in the list also. Also on the right-hand side to show you that actually we have facilitated registration for most of the applications to the extent that we only have 4 pending, which are currently under assessment in different NRAs, and 6 which are waiting for confirmation. And we have had 1 rejection due to policy constraints in a certain national regulatory authority of a certain country. Next. And in terms of CRP, SRA CRP itself, I started in 2015, but on the left-hand side, we're already seeing quite an impressive trend in terms of the number of applications and number of products being registered, especially from 2021. So this is a pathway that is increased, getting an increased uptake, and because the FBI team is working very well in terms of increasing clarity of this pathway. It's not a simple pathway, but as the clarity is increasing, we are seeing significant raise in number of registration overall, but also on the right-hand side presents a positive trends when it comes to RH products. Then also this gives us a lot of focused interventions in terms of ongoing and pending applications. Next. In terms of performance of the countries, most of the registrations have taken place in the African region. That means that we can now focus, we have better visualization of where the most action is. We can focus in other regions. And also it's a message to manufacturers and stakeholders also that many other countries that are in the list of CRP participating countries have not been reached by the program, especially for RH products. And in terms of registration, we see high conformance to requirements. So it's 30% within 90 days. But this is mainly based on complexity of the products. So even though it's 30%, but innovative products are very complex. Even a breach assessment brings about a lot of questions from the NRAs, which may need to be resolved and which brings about the observation. But if we have to look at the bigger picture, it means that we are facilitating registration, up to 60% registrations within 60 months. And again, we are attaining up to 85% registrations within 12 months, which is very, very shorter registration time compared to standard registration time in the countries, which may take up to 5 years, especially for innovator products. Next. So we have had also challenges as usual. So challenges for reproductive health, as we have seen in the slides, there is low uptake in terms of reproductive health stakeholders and manufacturers using CRP for both product stream, and also information sharing and exchange among all the different stakeholders has been also a challenge that hinders significant progress of CRP for reproductive health. Post-approval changes management, often manufacturers would want to know what is going to happen post-approval before making submissions, while we are still having a situation of no requirements or non-harmonized requirements in many parts of the world. We are also facing low responsiveness from some national regulatory authorities. Also, we have to juggle and navigate through specific national regulatory requirements, such as fees, samples, repeated inspections, but this is what we are doing on a daily basis. And as well as we have seen, we have had some rejections and out of scopes because of some national reproductive health policies in some countries. So in reaction, what we are doing is that, and this is what our team is doing, we are participating in manufacturers workshops, the famous one taking place in Copenhagen every year, and we wish to increase the frequency of those workshops. We have our biggest event of the year, CRP annual meeting, which gathers all stakeholders, including manufacturers. We are also open for one-on-one meetings with manufacturers where we are able to clarify different regulatory pathways and different NRA requirements. We also do a lot of regional workshops in the specific regions in the world where we see common challenges in order to have an opportunity for the specific region to move together, to understand Reliance and to move together. And when it comes to information sharing, we are now moving to a centralized information sharing and exchange platform under one platform. It's called the EPQS. We'll be rolling this from Q3 of this year, and all manufacturers will be trained on how to best make the use of this platform, all manufacturers and NRAs. We also assist in regulatory systems strengthening in different NRAs through the review of national requirements, guidelines, and procedures in order to enhance and streamline Reliance, and advocate for minimizing of country-specific requirements. We are also currently collaborating with the various stakeholders on post-approval change management. And what we want is we wish to support specific post-approval change management initiatives and ourselves to come up with a guide to better define post-approval change in the context of CRP. And last but not least, of course, multiple stakeholder dialogue like this one. We feel that is a great opportunity for us to further enhance this Reliance policy. Next. So as a takeaway message, the way we look at our CRP is like a factory. So a factory has inputs, which are dossiers, and have the suppliers, which are the manufacturers and the various stakeholders that provides dossier. Then we have processes, and we have outputs. So we have proven time and again that the inputs can be processed in this well-structured factory, where us as WHO, we act as processors. And we have very good controls in terms of controlling the process, and it has given outputs. So what is required is that this factory needs significant inputs, and needs significant stakeholders' collaborations in terms of which will be fuel and controls. And we've demonstrated this through more than 1,000 marketing authorizations in different parts of the world. And we have seen that it's working across all product streams. Therefore, we encourage stakeholders to use. This is one of the very first validated reliance mechanism in the world, because this mechanism uses the real life information. And we've demonstrated achievement of shorter timelines compared to national standard process, which means, which translates to access to patients and quick product introduction. CRP also supports harmonization and streamlining of submissions in terms of submitting one single product doses. This can result in predicted assessment styles and cycles, which could be very valuable when time saving when it comes to manufacture. And we have shown that it can facilitate post-approval change management, then it can reduce manufacturers' regulatory burden. So the last point is for us to argue to consider expanding it to wider product scope and formulation. So as you have seen for PQ, CRP, 70% of eligible formulations are not covered, and for the SRA CRP, the scope is endless. Any product can go into this. Next slide. So the next one is the resources. These are the main guidelines. Our main guidelines, you can find those guidelines from the link. And I think that is my last slide. Next. Thank you for listening, and I'll be here to take any questions and comments from your side. Thank you very much. Back to you, Safia.
Thank you so much. Excuse me. Thank you so much, Sunday and Marie, for this wealth of information in your slides and in your accompanying talk. So we have a lot of questions. So we'll get through what we can. And I see, Marie, that you have started actually in answering some of the questions that are in the Q&A.
Yes, Safia. So I think there are lots of questions. So thanks a lot to all the participants. There are lots of questions in the chat and in the question and answer function. And please keep the question coming through. I think we can try to combine some of them maybe in the interest of time. So I saw that, so in the chats, there were some questions regarding the difference between recognition and reliance. So this is a very good question. Thanks a lot. So as we said, there is a lot of different shapes and form of reliance, and recognition is a more formalized way of reliance, where there is minimum or no additional evaluation from the relying authorities. So reliance is a continuum, if you wish, where the relying authorities may decide to do additional evaluation, but for recognition, there is a recognition of the decision with no additional evaluation. And usually it can be unilateral, so one country decides to unilaterally recognize the decision of another, or it could be mutual, where there should be some agreement in place to make sure that they've got similar standards and that they can agree on the decision of each other. There was some question regarding the a list of responsible reliance procedure in countries, or list of focal points for CRP. So there is no published list of such contact. For CRP, depending on the agreement from the NRA, and if we receive requests, we can share on a specific request the specific focal point if the NRAs are happy for us to share the focal point. But there is no proactive published list of focal point either for reliance or for CRP. There was a question regarding how do the FPI team encourage the use of CRP. And I think Sunday in his last slide, one of his almost the last slide as mentioned, we do a lot of advocacy. So there is the annual CRP meeting once a year where it's a great platform to have the industry and representative, all the regulators, the donors to try to discuss about improving the processes. But also we do a lot of advocacy in terms of fora, conferences, workshop, in terms of working with all the stakeholders, so with the regulators and with the industry representative to try to make this procedure more known, alongside with also some publication, some article on the different procedure. There was one more regarding the scope as well, and there was a question regarding, does the CRP apply to medical devices? So we do not have all the medical devices. We've got the CRP for pre-qualified in vitro diagnostic. This is one of the procedures that we added more recently, so in 2019. So we've got 5 years of experience, and it's growing as well. So it's the same principle. We facilitate the provision of the report and the performance evaluation from pre-qualification to facilitate the registration of in vitro diagnosis that are pre-qualified. So these are a few. I think there are quite a few also, Sunday, so some of them I might regarding some of the aspect of your presentation. So let me see. There was one question. So if I have the GMP inspection report of the manufacturing site, should I include it in module 1, or this document will be shared by the WHO PQ team to NRA? So this is specific to the GMP.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so thanks, Salib. So if you have GMP inspection reports, and if it's a national module 1 requirement for specific national regulatory authority, which is almost the case in most of the time, please include that report with your submissions as required by the NRA. All the same, as we are also going to provide the report from pre-qualification and from SRA, which may include additional information that was not put together in the report that was shared to you for the purpose of transparency and reliance of GMP inspections. So please feel free to include it, and also we also provide the report, another detailed report as part of the information sharing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sunday. I think there is one regarding also a bit of clarification regarding the scope. So the expression of interests for, in terms of the scope of the pre-qualification, if you would like to take this one, Sunday.
Is this the expression of interest,
Yes.
Marie?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So it's about the scope of the PQ CRP.
Thanks. Yeah. So the expression of interest. So you need to fill in two documents, and it could be 3 for SRA CRP. One is the expression of interest for you to use CRP in a certain national regulatory authority. And the second document is for consent for WHO to share your confidential information to the national regulatory authority. And for under SRA CRP, also there needs to be a signed confidential disclosure agreement, or CDA, between WHO and the manufacturer. So all these appendices and documents comes to us, and that will be almost the beginning of CRP process. After that, that's when we will transmit the same to the NRA and start the dialogue with the NRA. Upon the agreement, then the CRP process starts. Thank you.
It's great. Thanks a lot.
Then maybe I can take the one from Elizabeth Mauro about post-approval phase. Yes?
Yes, please do. Yes.
Okay, so thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, so the idea is collaboration. So it's collaborative approval during pre-approval phase and post-approval phase. And the key word is that, like I said before, to make sure that we have the same product at both ends. So to make sure that at all times the NRI has the same product that was also compared to WHO prequalification or Stringent Regulatory Authority. Then in this case, all product features, critical product features that may impact quality, safety, and efficacy profile of the product needs also to be communicated to the National Regulatory Authority so that the National Regulatory Authority also updates quality safety profile of the product in the country. And likewise, if there is a change that has been submitted in the country, and this change is not submitted in PQ, also would like to have the other way, the opposite communication in terms of us asking WHO PQ on their opinion about the change that has been made in a certain country, whether it deems the products the same or different. If it's a different product, then it means that that is not a collaborated product anymore. So to answer you, yes. So it's important to have all post-approval changes approved by reference authority. They need to be approved in the country also. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot, Sunday. And I think there are a couple of questions regarding also reaching out to other regions, so to have more NRAs from Asia or from Latin America to join the CRP. So just to mention that we do indeed try to reach out to additional regions and countries. So we do some advocacy workshops, and we actually have conducted some in those regions. And the next annual meeting will be actually in Indonesia, in Jakarta this year. So we do reach out to new countries and new regions to try to invite them to join the scheme. And similarly, if, for example, some manufacturers are interested in countries that are not in the lists that were presented by Sunday, we can facilitate, and we try to approach these additional countries to invite them to see if they would like to join the CRP. Obviously, it is their decision. It's always, as we mentioned, for Reliance, it's always on a voluntary basis. So it's always for the NRA to decide if they would like to participate or not. But we do reach out, and we do a lot of advocacy work in terms of inviting additional countries to join. And I think there was one question also regarding the post-authorization change pilots. So just to mention, so I mean, I think Sunday has explained very well how it is managed within the CRP, but we see also increasingly some reliance mechanism or reliance model for post-authorization changes. So there is one pilot that is ongoing under ICPA, the International Conference for Medicine Regulatory Authorities, where they are trying to look at regulatory authorities doing work sharing and joint assessment of post-authorization changes instead of repeating maybe 6 or 7 times the same assessment, to try to look at this variation together. And also there are a couple of industry-led pilots where the high-level principle is to use one reference authority and to submit to 40 or 50 countries to invite them to use this reference authority as the reference for a specific variation, a major variation, for example, the addition of a new manufacturing site or other changes, and to try to avoid having a long process that sometimes can take up to 2 or 3 years to have a variation approved globally, and to try to propose it to have this change within a reasonable time frame, for example, 6 months, in terms of trying a more harmonized launch of a variation globally. We as WHO, as a whole, and FPI, we support very well this use of Reliance for post-authorization changes and to make the best use of the resources. So we are very happy to see all these pilots ongoing, and there are lots of publication on the ongoing pilots. And hopefully this will also inform how the future can look in terms of post-authorization change management. I think, Sunday, there was a question regarding the cancellation. So I think in your slides there was a few, I think there were a few products that were not accepted or cancelled from the NRAs, and I think it's depending on the type of product. So if you want to comment on this, please.
Thank you. It's from Sangeeta. Thank you, Sangeeta. Yeah, this for cancellations, this is, as Marie rightly said a few minutes ago, that CRP is voluntary process. So first, National Regulatory Authority may decide not to accept to use CRP for a specific product. One, but second, they may accept to use CRP for a product, but during the course of the assessment, they may decide not to do abridged assessment based on their national policies and the way they look at that particular product molecule or formulation. They may opt to do their own full assessment. In this case, they won't be relying anymore, and in that case, then the CRP procedure can be cancelled, and the National Regulatory Authority can go ahead registering the product based on their own full assessment. But these are very rare cases, as we've shown. Most of the applications gets registered under CRP. Thank you.
Good. And if I may, Sunday, so there's one also regarding the timelines. And a question is made regarding maybe some of the countries that are using the procedure but are not acknowledging the use of the procedure. So if this is counted in the timelines, and how do we follow up with these NRAs, which sometimes sign the agreement and agree to join CRP, but might take a bit of time to acknowledge the agreement to use the CRP, please.
Yeah, thanks. So there are two scenarios also, like I presented in one of my slides, where I presented the 5 steps. So the second step would be for the NRA to agree to use the procedure for a specific product. And not all NRAs agree to use procedure for all the products. And in this instance, the application dossier would have been already submitted to the NRA. However, the NRA declined to use CRP. Therefore, it goes through their national procedure, and timelines can be longer time. That is one scenario. But the second scenario, of course, not all NRA are the same. Not all national regulatory authorities are at the same level of maturity. So while we are doing this, we are also dealing with building, strengthening some other national regulatory authorities that have somehow immature regulatory systems, which means that even for abridged assessment takes longer, or maybe they are constrained in terms of resources. So that's the effort of multiple stakeholders within and outside WHO. But on our side, what we are doing is that we are doing these focused interventions in order to make sure that these NRAs are aligned. For example, last year we have had a very big and successful workshop in Francophone West African countries, where we've been seeing most of these longer timelines on responsiveness. And based on these workshops, we have a lot of individual one-on-ones with the national regulatory authorities. And we are also inviting these national regulatory authorities in our regional workshops and CRP annual meetings. So it's a process, but we have seen some these national regulatory authorities graduating from a certain position to the next, but it's a continuous process that we accept, and we are working towards making them conform to CRP timelines. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot. Thank you, Sunday. There was, I think this one you replied. I think there was one comment regarding the variation, the classification. So we already acknowledge that it is true that the difficulties with the post-authorization change management is also that the classification of the type of variation varies from one country to another. So it's quite difficult actually to try to have a global strategy. We know that for biological and vaccine, there is a WHO guideline in terms of trying to highlight what is expected, what could be recommended in terms of variation and classification. These two guidelines are actually being updated, and they will be combined, and a public consultation will be planned later this year for this variation guideline for biological and vaccine. But it is true that there is some discussion that needs to be had in terms of trying to harmonize the classification in terms of variation between the different regions. I think we've covered most of. I don't know if there was others that you've seen, Sunday or Safia, in terms of question that we would like to answer also.
I think you've done a great job of addressing all of the questions and grouping some together, both from the chat as well as the Q&A. Sunday, did you see anything else?
Yeah, so maybe from Kate, she's asking, Kate Kikule, thank you. She's asking if there is a possibility of including neonatal and child health tracer medicines in the scope of CRP, noting that RH medicines are for maternal health. Yes, so the answer is that all products currently invited for pre-qualification and they are already pre-qualified and listed on the WHO website, are eligible for registration under CRP. And all other products, medical products that are approved by stringent regulatory authorities. So if those products are neonatal and child health tracer medicines, and the manufacturer wishes to apply for registration in the CRP participating countries, we'll be very happy to facilitate registration in the countries. Thank you.
Good, and I think in the Q&A there are a couple of questions. So there are some specific questions for specific applications. So for those one, I would invite colleagues to reach out directly to see. I see there is one question regarding an inspection and some delays in terms of the application. If you want to contact us directly, I think this will be the most efficient way to try to see how we can move this application forward. So I will invite colleagues or participants to contact us directly. There is some question regarding antibiotics. So as explained, so for the PQ-CRP, the scope is linked to the pre-qualification. So it's limited to the scope of pre-qualification. However, for SRA-CRP, the scope is open for all authorized product by stringent regulatory authorities. So there is no limitation in terms of the scope. There was additional question regarding the efforts in terms of encouraging regulators to meet the timelines. And as we mentioned, and Sunday also has discussed that, we recommend 90 working days. We can see that for PQ-CRP, it's maintained most of the time. For SRA-CRP, for stringent regulatory authorities CRP, we see that the timelines are a bit longer, but it's also linked to the type of products. So for Stringent Regulatory Authorities, CRP, it's more innovative and originator products, whereas for pre-qualification, maybe it's more generic version of products. So the safety and efficacy is very well determined and is very well known. So it's more of a quality evaluation, and it could be done faster. Whereas for SRA CRP, it is true we observed that the time for review of the application is a bit longer. So we have to work together with the NRAs and to give more support. But it's also linked to the type of product.
Anne-Marie and Sunday, also from the coalition, just asking a broader question. How can our members, other than those who are manufacturers and participating directly in the processes, how can we help in making the process for the procedure more effective and more broadly used by RH manufacturers? How can we be of help?
I think I'll start, and also I'll let Sunday. I think the advocacy work, and to explain that, I mean, the more we talk about the procedure, the better, and to explain that, as we've done today, and thanks a lot for the opportunity, we can show that, as Sunday has mentioned, it's a functioning machine, so it's a good tool in terms of facilitating registration. So by promoting and presenting this as an option in terms of, again, it's always voluntary, but this is an option on the table in terms of facilitating registration in countries. So it's a great tool that can be used in terms of facilitating access. So it's a question of advocacy and making sure that they can have access to the relevant information for the use of this procedure. And I'll let Sunday also comment if he would like to add.
Yeah, I think that's it. The most important is correct, conveying the correct information to the right audience. And just to mention that our team is always available for information sessions like this. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we shall make our time to come and provide more elaborations, which will help us push the procedure forward for reproductive health products. Thank you.
Good. Let's see, I think there's two more questions. So one is there any criteria or mandatory checklist for NRA to participate? I think if Sunday you want to, I mean, you've explained already a bit the guideline and the different steps, but if you want to highlight in terms of not the checklist, but the different steps for NRA to participate, please.
Thank you. So it's one, we have the CRP guideline, and that is in my last slide. You will see from the link from my last slides. But what is required is first the competent national regulatory authority of the country agrees to use the procedure and signs the CRP agreement. So the appendix CRP, a copy of CRP agreement is also on part of it's an appendix to the guideline. Once you sign the CRP agreement and send us to us through this email address that is there, prequalified@who.int, and copying myself and Marie and other colleagues, as you are going to see on the contacts. Then we are going to do a training of the NRA, not training in terms of information session to the National Regulatory Authority, so that they understand all the principles and the commitments that they've put in place. And also very critical for the NRA to have a focal point that can be used for communication between various stakeholders, manufacturers, and national manufacturers and WHO. And these focal points are the critical parts of CRP, because they're the ones that makes CRP ticks in a certain NRAs. So upon those basic requirements, then everything should be set. And of course, preferably the National Regulatory Authority should have specific guidelines when it comes to Reliance, guidelines for submission, guidance to manufacturers, and they should have also predefined Reliance or a bridge registration pathway in their system. But all that comes during this information session. Then when we've done that, we list the NRI on our website. Then any manufacturer can express interest to use CRP. And like we said, CRP is product specific. So for NRI, for each product, we're going to ask the NRI if they're willing to use CRP. So it's not a blanket. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot. And I think I will take one more question. So there were some questions regarding other more advanced NRAs joining CRP, and also try to mandate NRA to use it for high value products. So on the first one, I think we know that CRP is one of the tool in the toolbox. Some of the NRAs, they have already some Reliance mechanism, and some of the more advanced NRAs, they already have Reliance included in their framework. So not everybody would apply a Reliance CRP, but they've got their own Reliance models that they are using in terms of using the output of other regulators. And regarding the mandating, and as we mentioned, this is voluntary, so we wouldn't be in a position to force or to. We can only propose and as an option to use CRP, but there is no. We cannot mandatory ask any NRA to use the procedure. And with that, I think I would like to thank the participant, because it was a lively discussion. It's very interesting to have all your questions. So thank you very much for participating, and thank you for all your questions. And I will hand back to you, Safia.
Great. Thank you so much, Marie and Sunday. This has been extremely informative for our members, and so glad that so many of you were able to stay on for the full session. We will make the recording for this webinar available, and we will also be sharing the slide deck for your information. And so we look forward to having additional sessions on related topics through the Reproductive Health Supplies Coalition for your continued understanding of these important procedures that can help us all with improving access. So thanks again, Marie, Sunday, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Safia and colleagues. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.